Welcome back to Lunaform. Last time we added Lunar's energy system as well as some basic UI features for the mining mechanic. First on the list this week is power-ups. I want the user to be randomly rewarded for mining, with improvements to basic things like movement speed, mining speed, maximum energy capacity, recharge rate, scan radius and pickup radius. So I created some basic tokens in MagicaVoxel that spawn at random intervals when mining. I gave them a particle effect upon collection that matches the rarity and added a panel in the lower right hand corner with some basic indicators of progression for each skill. No ground broken here. I've gone with common, uncommon, rare, epic, mythic and legendary. As always, there were bugs in this process which needed to be figured out. I particularly enjoyed being able to just push them off the edge of the map. Lastly, I added a small notification to show what was picked up. I wanted the resources to match the new voxel style, so I rewrote parts of the resource generation code to create small piles that align with the grid system. This uses a basic rock voxel mixed with a resource voxel. These were quite tricky to get procedurally generated in a way that looked good. They will need further work as I don't like the overall cube shape of the deposit, but I'll park this one for now. I'm quite indecisive with a lot of things. I like the idea of starting the game in complete darkness, but I do think it gets a bit repetitive and unengaging after a while. And whilst the initial idea for the game was to have it take place in a permanently shadowed crater, this does propose a further set of issues around the generation of solar power. So I implemented a day and night cycle. This is essentially just a directional light that orbits the map, creating light and shade. You can then use the position of the light compared to the centre of the map to drive game features. I added a small moon to the UI and wrote a custom shader to give it a shadow effect. It moves across in time with the rotation of the light that just loops back to the beginning at the start of a new day. This will initially be a very slow cycle, given that one lunar day is 14 Earth days, but will likely speed up as the game progresses and terraforming occurs. Next was a fairly easy one, controller input. Unity handles this really well, and I was surprised at the difference it made to the enjoyment. It feels far more intuitive to move Luna around using the analog stick. Now when Luna is close enough to a resource deposit, and you press X, or square on a PlayStation, Luna will rotate towards the centre of the pile and start mining. Luna's infinite storage capacity has been bugging me for a while, so I added a second progress bar in the UI to handle this. When she is full, she can no longer collect the resources she mines. So, next we need a way to offload her collected resources in the drop pod. This means we have to find a way of docking and undocking, which will also help deal with the issue that we currently have of Luna being able to just move through the walls of the drop pod. So, we give the drop pod a collider that we can interact with, and then give each door an empty quad or square that acts as an initial go-to point. When you right-click on the drop pod, Luna will move to the nearest square, rotate towards the centre of the drop pod, and move into it. At this point, I implemented a notifications system that displays info, action, and warning notifications. These have been created using an array so that we can easily add or remove notification types in future. We can call a notification at any point in the game with a simple line of code that passes the text and the type. Next, we needed a way of interacting with the drop pod once Luna is docked. After recently re-watching The Martian, I noticed how awesome their UI displays were. It reminded me of old MS-DOS applications that my dad used to use as a sign writer in the 90s. I would sit in his office and watch him, and then when he'd finished work, we'd play Space Invaders. Territory Studio did an amazing job of bringing this style of design into the modern era in the film, with the use of simple fonts, colours, shapes and lines, and I absolutely love this style of graphic design. So I mocked up a very basic docking screen in Illustrator, showing some of the core stats and the overall Terraform progress, which will eventually remain permanently in the bottom left-hand corner. Now when you right-click on the drop pod, Lunar moves to the bottom of the nearest ramp and onto the drop pod. A new panel appears where I can start to display various information and upgrades. Lunar's storage transfers to the drop pod and she recharges her energy. When you're all done, she will turn and exit the drop pod from the same door she came in from, so you can go back to the area that you came from if there are resources still to be mined or collected. It's nice to finally be implementing game features. I've started work on some of the upgrade assets that will form part of the tech tree, as well as playing with some concept art for buildings such as solar arrays, power storage, resource storage, oxygen tanks and regolith processors, as well as mapping out which order I need to start adding in features like buildings, skill and tech upgrades and plants and vegetation. I'm approaching the 6-month mark for development on Lunaform, which now also has a new logo, so drop me a follow on Instagram for earlier progress updates, and as always, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.